Hey everyone, I'm back with another video about writing. Information overload basically means you're giving out too much information about something in your research paper. It happens because when we as researchers start to write a research paper, we fail to keep a track of how much information we're giving out. And sometimes we tend to overindulge, or sometimes we don't give out enough information. The reader starts to feel like he's losing track of what he's reading. And the primary purpose of writing is to connect with your audience. And that's why it's important to recognize when we are dumping too much information, that is, when the problem of information overload is occurring in our paper. We are referring to many sources of information like books and research papers and articles and blog articles. And we are simply borrowing different authors' views on a topic instead of actually trying to understand what they are trying to tell you. We simply try to paraphrase things from here and there, different sources, and we dump it all in our paper. Even though the topic of the article was to talk about the growth of agriculture sector in India, somehow the author started to talk about a related industry, that is the food processing industry. And he started explaining how it is dependent on the agriculture sector, at what rate it is growing. So at this point, the reader starts to feel like he's losing track and he starts to feel disconnected with the article. The process of writing begins with an idea. An idea can help you achieve a goal or a purpose for writing your paper. Now, a purpose is something that is more refined. A purpose gives you clarity about why you're writing the paper. What is the intention behind writing that paper? For example, you have an idea that there is not enough social awareness about the issue of gender equality in India. That's an idea that you have in your mind. But a goal is something that is more defined, say, to spread awareness about gender equality among teenagers in India. That becomes a goal. Now, having a goal is important for one more reason, and that is it helps us define the scope of our paper. A scope means basically defining the boundaries within which your content will be confined. Having the boundaries is important. It helps you decide the exact elements that are going to be discussed in your study. So, for example, if I want to study about the issue of lack of awareness about gender inequality in India, then I will define my scope so that I know that I'm sticking only to India. I'm not discussing about any other country in my paper, say Indonesia or the Philippines. So that means defining the scope of my study. Now, having the scope is important because it also helps us understand the outline of the paper. It also helps us create the structure of the paper. You can decide the headings, the subheadings, the flow of the paper, the exact content that you will discuss in every paragraph if you have a clear scope defined. So now you've defined the goal of your paper and the scope of your paper. Now there's one more thing that you need to decide before you start writing, and that is defining the target audience of your paper. Target audience means basically who you're writing the paper for. On what section of the audience are you aiming to create an impact with your paper? That's right, you can't write for everybody. For instance, if you're trying to discuss about the effect of certain drugs on your body, and how it can help you treat diabetes, then you're probably writing for a section of the audience, say the medical students or the pharmaceutical companies. Can my audience relate to my argument? You need to also think, is it adding to the existing knowledge? Otherwise, again, you end up giving up information that was already known, which is information dumping. I want to know how much about info dumping you have actually understood. So I'm giving you a small task. I'm giving you an idea. And from that idea, you are supposed to create a goal, the scope, and define the target audience of that idea. Add your answers in the comments and let me see how likely you are to avoid the problem of info dumping in your next writing. Bye.